Hello, this is the Tradesight US Stocks, Futures, and Forex Market Preview for the week beginning Sunday, the 7th of November, 2021, ending Friday, the 12th. I'm going to talk a little bit extra this time just because we want to get everybody geared up for what's left this year. We're going to start with the fact that obviously this weekend, Saturday the 6th, and that Saturday the 6th is the time change. Most of the world, not where I live, but most of the world sets their clocks back. There's an extra hour. It means we're off sync a little bit with what Europe's been doing by an hour. Moving forward, sometimes it takes a little bit to adjust Forex from that perspective, but we will see what we get. Also, I want to mention in terms of just general guidance for what's left. So we have 2 straight up trading weeks. They're typically exciting weeks. We had a good green week this week, but it wasn't because of a lot of excitement. We had a couple days where the futures opening range plays were huge and some good futures trades happened. We had a couple with the big, huge Forex winner. And then we had some nice stock trades at least 2, maybe 3 of the days this week. So it was a good week overall, but it's not because there's a lot going on. It was actually very flat, a lot, as you'll see. Usually it's a good time of year. Happy to have nice, solid green weeks, but obviously we would prefer a little more excitement in the market. So the next 2 weeks are still open for that, typically. Good time of year. I will say that this coming week that we're talking about right now, Thursday is Veterans Day. It's a weird day of the week for Veterans Day. What that means is that banks are closed here in the U.S. The stock market is open, but it's usually very unexciting when the banks are closed. So it's almost like a holiday. You can show up and check it out, but you're usually going to see very light volume and not much action. But then we're open Friday like a normal day. So it's a little awkward. We'll just see how that plays out. But I mean, other than that, the next 2 weeks should typically have plenty of opportunities, and we'll just see what we get. After that, what's the next week? The next week is Thanksgiving here in the U.S. What does that look like? Well, Monday can be fine. Tuesday can be okay. People start to leave on Tuesday. They definitely are out the door on Wednesday trying to get travel to family and whatnot. I mean, obviously there's flight issues here in the U.S. With American and Southwest in particular that could hurt people. It's the busiest travel day of the year. And then Thursday is the markets are closed for Thanksgiving. That's the 25th. And Friday, the 26th, is a half day. Markets are required to be open by rule. They can't be closed more than 3 days in a row. So they have to be open on that Friday, at least for a half day. Obviously, it's not a tradable event. So typically what you see for that week is we'll show up on Monday, we'll show up early Tuesday, and then that's it. Wednesday, probably not much to see unless there's something major going on in the world. Thursday, we're closing. Friday, nobody shows up for that. So you got a long weekend, and then we get into the last 2 days of November. I should point out that the Friday before Thanksgiving is options expiration for the month. Now, after that, we head into the week that wraps up November on Tuesday and goes into December, right? And so then you've got that week that's part November, part December, full week. You get the next one's a full week. That second week there, that 8th, 9th, 10th, that's when we get the quarterly futures contract roll from the 9th to the 10th on Thursday and Friday. And then on the week of the 13th, we do have triple options expiration. So Wednesday is usually the unravel movement, and Friday the 17th is kind of boring. I like the holiday schedule this year for Christmas. It's not as bad as we've had it in the past because Christmas and New Year's are both on Saturdays. So what that means is stock market will be closed on Christmas Eve. Usually Christmas Eve is a half day or closed on Christmas Day. But here we'll just be closed Christmas Eve. Now that Thursday, the 23rd, people are usually gone. And sometimes, people take off. The big money takes off the last 2 weeks anyways, right? So it is what it is. But we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Thursday is usually a travel day. The 24th is Christmas Eve, closed. And 25th is Christmas Day. Then you wake up and you got the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. So the last possible trading day of the year always has to be open, which is the 31st, unfortunately. So the markets will be open on on December 31st to wrap up the year. But you will see the markets Actually, I guess there's no closing at all now that I think about it, because we're going to be open on Friday, and New Year's Day is Saturday. So actually, there's no holiday at all for New Year's. I wouldn't be surprised if they close it half day somewhere in there, but it's not on the schedule. So we get gypped for holidays, but it means, you know, a little more time with the markets during the festivities. Oops, don't worry about that. Sorry about that. In terms of everything else, you know, obviously when we got the contract roll, we get to the end of the year. Last 2 weeks are typically slow. We'll look at the volume as we get closer. So there's a lot of great weeks ahead. There's a couple of holiday weeks ahead, typically on average, and we'll just see what we get. All right, here's a look at the dollar index daily chart. Tried to sweep the highs this week, came back on Friday. Let's look at the major Forex pairs. The euro dollar is the inverse of the dollar index, so it swept the lows. It got a 13 buy signal and bounced. The pound dollar plunged quite a bit. We had a big winner, like I said, this week. It was on the pound to the short side. So we had a nice trading day Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on the pound. The Aussie dollar pulled back a bit. The euro yen, not much here. The pound yen did pull back again. And then let's take a look at the intra-week action. Let's go especially just on the euro dollar and the pound dollar. So the euro dollar high to low for the week was only 110 pips. Not very exciting, but on the pound it was bigger. Obviously, that's where we made the money. So the high to low for the week here was, boy, about 300 pips. No, not that. Sorry, 200. Yeah, almost 300 pips. 275 pips. So not a bad deal from that perspective. And that's why we had a good week there. All right, let's take a look. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market and futures forum. You know, this has been crazy ever since they removed the fight over the debt ceiling, which they should. The market has been in rally mode, and that's good. We've got, looks like Congress is passing some stuff here on Friday, so finally getting that infrastructure bill in place. That is new spending. The reconciliation bill that's still out there is not new spending. It's just a matter of what they're moving the money around for and how many years they're doing it. But it is, once again, remember, this is the thing people don't understand. Reconciliation bill is not new money. So the only new money is the money they just passed, the infrastructure bill that was passed in the Senate months ago. Now the House has done it on Friday night. So now we're 7 candles up on the daily chart. Let's look at everything here as we're heading into this key time of year. So you got the weekly chart. We're now 10 candles up, so could have a 13 sell signal on the weekly in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to talk about that briefly in a moment. And then on the monthly side, yeah, what do we got there? Nowhere near a signal that actually matters. We'll do it in reverse here on the NASDAQ futures. So the NASDAQ, actually we got to look at the NASDAQ 100 cash index to see it all here going back. We recycled, so there's nothing there on the monthly. If you go to the weekly chart, still nothing there. And if you go to the daily chart of the NDX, this one is 9 candles up also, so there's nothing major there. Let's look at crude oil, up $2.36 on Friday to 81.17. It had pulled back for the week. Gold up 26.50. That's the first sign of gold starting to head out of this range it's been in for a while, so we'll see what that leads to. We got so the S&P was up 17, the NDX was up 13, pretty flat for the day. On Friday, the SOX up 40, new closing highs on the SOX. Biotech's down, oof, to 135. Moderna got crushed. Russell 2000 up 34.65. Again, the Russell finally breaking out. We'll talk in a minute about the time of year for that. The Dow Jones up 203 points, some new highs there. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up $2.20. The advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ plus 314. Some more stocks were up than down. On the New York, it was plus 1,021. So way more stocks up than down. The trend closes at 0.94, puts the 10-day moving average at 1.23, which is not a signal for us. NASDAQ volume 5.5 billion shares, back up after a slower start to the week. The VIX up, interestingly, $1.04. So remember, market goes up and the VIX goes up. That doesn't usually happen that way, but it did here. The Apple up 54 cents. Not really anywhere all week. Amazon up 41.99. So trying to take new highs on Amazon. Facebook up $5.28. There's a gap up there. Google was up $11.69. That's a new closing high on Google. Goldman Sachs down 99 cents. Netflix down $22.68. Big drop in Netflix right off that 13 sell signal that we called a couple of days ago. So those of you who took options on that trade, obviously working, whatever options form you took. That was one on the daily chart we were focused on. Tesla down $7.82, but it's obviously been on a run anyways after that nice cut breakout over 900. Zoom down $17.50. That's not great. I will point out Peloton also, the bike, down huge on Friday on earnings. That is not a pretty chart overall. Bitcoin sits at 61,000. All right, let's look at the intra-week action. So we're going to go to 10-minute candle so you can see the week on the ES. And, Monday was a small gap up, filled, didn't do much. Tuesday was a small gap up that didn't actually fill. Tuesday, from the first about 30 minutes and then all the way into Wednesday when the Fed announcement came out, was just dead flat, untradeable action. Then you get the Fed announcement, market spikes on that into the close on Wednesday. Thursday we tried to push higher but came back and then dead flat, so not much there. And then Friday we get the big gap up, and notice the 13 sell signal Friday is the high of the week. So there was a high there was a 13 sell signal before the Fed meeting. That was the high for 2 days before the Fed. Then you get 13 sell signal on Friday, and that's the high of the week. We came back and almost filled the gap, basically filled the gap, close to it. So that was an interesting week. NASDAQ side pretty much the same. Again, so flat with that Fed announcement, and it is what it is. In terms of economic data for the week ahead, I'm going to kind of push through this one fairly quickly. So the time changes here in the U.S. and Canada over the weekend. Focus on the U.S. stuff. We got leading indicators out of Japan, but we've got mortgage delinquencies, Fed Chair Powell speaks. None of this is really important stuff here in the U.S. We got the FOMC Financial Stability Report. That's the bank study. That's usually important, but doesn't usually come in badly. So we'll see what happens. Tuesday, German trade balance, French trade balance, U.S. Small Business Index. Nobody cares about that. PPI here in the U.S. at 8:30 a.m. Powell speaks again. 10-year bond auction, and then China's CPI and PPI. On Wednesday, we've got preliminary machine tool orders, Japan, we've got Italian industrial production, German 10-year bond auction. The CPI here in the U.S. so will be half size ahead of that for the Forex trades, because that's one of our big three each month, along with the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers, although I'm not sure. Oh, because of the Veterans Day holiday, that's why. Crude oil and natty gas, same day, also early for natty gas, because Thursday is a bank holiday. 30-year bond auction, federal budget balance, preliminary GDP out of the UK Thursday morning. Again, U.S. banks are closed, and so are Canadian banks closed on Thursday. So the stock market's going to be a bust. There's no economic data here for that. And then we come back Friday, and hopefully that doesn't get disrupted because people were off Thursday. And the PPI out of Switzerland, and then the U.S. JOLTS job openings, preliminary University of Michigan sentiment, and that, as they say, is that. So that's the look at the week ahead, and we will certainly see what we get. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple of weeks. Have a great trading week and enjoy the time change.